Hey, let's take a trip around the curve. Hollywood mourned this week as we lost the legendary actor and activist Harry Belafonte, as well as a staple of ABC's dance show, Dancing with the Stars, Mr. Len Goodman. Don Lemon lost his job, and so did Tucker Carlson. And on to CinemaCon, where they celebrated studio releases from now into 2024. And Disney began TV's largest wave of layoffs, with more than halfway to their target of 7,000 staff cuts. Obama's Higher Ground names former Showtime Docs chief Vinny Malhotra as president. Dakota Fanning boards the supernatural thriller The Watchers for New Line, and Julia Hart on board to direct the adaptation of My Lovely Wife at Netflix, with Jordan Horowitz producing. Emperor of Ocean Park series adaptation from John Wells and Sherman Payne is ordered at MGM+. Byron Allen is to honor Gayle King with the Griot's Journalist Award. The Washington, D.C. Gala will feature a live concert by Diana Ross. Michael B. Jordan's Outlier Society, Christopher McQuarrie are to produce the action thriller Iron Curtain at Amazon. Gabrielle Union is set to star in EP Pretty Little Wife for Amazon. And Scott Mescudi, Sam Levinson, and the Lucas Brothers team on zombie action comedy Hell Now at Sony. Mackenzie Davis joins James McAvoy in Blumhouse's Universal's Speak No Evil remake. And Truth Be Told ends after 3 seasons. Thank you for your creative vision during this incredible journey. Poppy Scoville signing off, said Octavia Spencer as she wrote a tribute to the show's staff. Sam Worthington joins Riz Ahmed and Lily James in Thriller Relay, filming in New York and New Jersey. Michaela J. Rodriguez reteams with Ryan Murphy for the American Horror Story Season 12. The Magnificent Seven series reboot from Nick Pizzolatto is in the works at Amazon Studios. And Eva Green wins her court case over collapsed sci-fi film A Patriot. Yvonne Orji inks a first-look deal with Sony Pictures Television, and today on The Curvy Critic with Carla Renata, we are reviewing Ghosted. Chris Evans and Ana de Armas' Skydance spy fic action is the most watched debut in Apple TV Plus history, plus interviews with The Rookie and Big George Foreman star Miss Jasmine Mathews, in addition to my girl from Heart of Dixie, Bluebell, Long Live the Heart, Miss Leila Gerstein, who is now the executive producer on Saint X on Hulu. That is it for this edition of Around the Curve. Stay tuned, baby. Peace.
Hold up. Wait a minute. I wish you love, peace, and hair grease.
Love, peace, and hair grease, y'all.
Yeah, you know I'm always shooting straight from the hip.
This is Carla Renata, aka The Curvy Critic, and I shoot straight from the hip.
Yeah, you know I'm always shooting straight from the hip.
Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to another live edition of the Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. I'm your girl, Carla Renata. If this is your first time joining me, please give me a big old thumbs up to let me know you were here. Click that bell for notifications if you are on the YouTube, if you are on Twitter and LinkedIn. Follow your girl, holla at your girl, and say, what's up? I decided to dress up for y'all today because it's been a minute since I've been here. Insty, who let me say hello to the people in the comments. Hello, Read, Love, Listen. Thank you for joining me again. And I appreciate you showing up. And let's talk about Brandon. Brandon says semester 2 of his animation class is concluded on Thursday, and then he'll be in semester, light is about to fall, semester 3 of in the summer or the fall. Yay! Snaps and claps, Brandon. Thank you for joining me. So I did something a little different for this episode, you guys. I did Around the Curve first to give you a little news to get you excited. And then I did the intro, and now I'm coming to you live. I had a lot popping off last week. As I said in the intro, I have my old executive producer, Leila Gerstein. I'll tell you a little bit more about her and Saint X as we get closer to that interview. And I have Jasmine Mathews, who, if you guys watch The Rookie on ABC, The Rookie on ABC, or if you've seen Tomorrow War, you have seen Jasmine Mathews, and she is starring in Big George Foreman, which just dropped a few days ago. But I want to tell y'all about this CinemaCon, honey. Before I do that, though, let me give snaps and claps to my boy Martin Lawrence, who who received his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Marty Marr is on the Star Hollywood Star Walk of Fame. Congratulations, Martin Lawrence. It is a long time coming now. As far as Comic Con is concerned, basically what not Comic Con, CinemaCon. I keep saying Comic Con, but I mean CinemaCon. So CinemaCon is kind of like a Comic Con for theater owners and distributors, right? So all of these theater owners and distributors, they come together once a year in Las Vegas. All the studios do presentations for them. They do sneak peeks of their films. Some of them show the whole film. A lot of the stars come out and do a little skit or two. They had a skit that was done around the Ninja Turtles release, and the the CEO of Lionsgate came up out of the ground, honey, with pizza. It was hilarious. Anywho, I went there. I went for the last 2 days because I had some things to take care of in LA. But I'm going to give you a good little recap of what went down. So on the 24th, which was last Monday, they kicked off with Sony Studios kicked it off with a sneak peek of Bad Boys 4. And they did that via Will Smith and Martin Lawrence via tape. They were not there in person. They were some of the few that weren't there in person, but they did do it by tape, and they talked about the film. And but they did not give a release. Sony Studios did not give a release date for Bad Boys 4. They did not give a title for Bad Boys 4. They showed the first 14 minutes of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse and Denzel Washington. They showed a trailer for the Equalizer 3, and he said in a he relayed to the theater owners that we would be nothing but out you all. We're here for you. We're here because of you. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I have been blessed beyond measure. Denzel Washington is a class act. That's all I have to say about that. He is just a class act. Oh, Reed Love Living, you said you're loving that the stars we grew up watching have been getting their stars. Yes, I enjoyed that too. That was really cool to see Martin Lawrence get his props for sure, for sure. Um, Back to CinemaCon. So that was the first day. And then the second day, the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery came out, David Zaslav. He took to the stage at Caesar's, took place at Caesar's Palace. And he took to this light is giving me the rah-rahs today. He took to the stage and he basically said that he does not believe in direct to streaming movies. And it was a theme that recurred throughout most of the week. Most of the people that were there on behalf of the studios, the CEOs or the presidents or whatever they may be, they got up and they basically were like, listen, we thank the theater owners for getting people back in the seats. They really were encouraging and employing people to get folk back into the theater and not release their titles straight to streaming. They really want people to get back into the movie theaters post pandemic, because the movie theaters are showing a little bit of a slow climb. But let me just say that slow climb is mostly due to Latino, Black, and Asian people going to the studio, going to the movies to see the movies. Just saying. We're the largest group of people that's going, more than 40%. As I say, all the time when I talk about percentages and people of color going, but I digress. So Timothy Chalamet was there. Him and Zendaya were there on behalf of Dune, and it was announced that he will meet Hugh Grant as a Oompa Loompa in the new trailer for Wonka, based on Willy Wonka. They showed trailers for Aquaman and The Lost Kingdom, which promises to be another outrageous adventure. And then Disney announced that Chris Pine is going to play Magnifico in Disney's animation's Wish. So this is what the logos look like for these people. Love that. I love that they kind of put the CinemaCon CinemaCon brand next to the whatever the brand of the studio is, because it's just, it's kind of cute. I kind of love that. Let me take Read Love Listens message down. Thank you. Good evening. And Disney also showed a little bit of The Little Mermaid with Halle Bailey, not Chloe Bailey, but Halle, because I too get them mixed up. So here's Halle. Everybody has seen this picture, and then released a new poster, which is absolutely gorgeous. And you see Melissa McCarthy in the middle there. She was honored with the Verite Award. So at the end of CinemaCon, they gave various awards. Zendaya was given the Star of the Year award, and Melissa McCarthy was given the Verite Award. And then I and they unveiled a first look at Ursula. And then Paramount announced some titles, but then there was this one. This happened. So Martin Scorsese was there and he was being honored. They did a legendary talk. Leonardo DiCaprio showed up and did a one-on-one discussion with him. And Scorsese was another one who was like, y'all have got to stop streaming stuff and get into the theaters. You know, I I'm I'm with them a little bit. I'm kind of half and torn on that. So and then Universal announced some of their titles. And baby, I was more excited about this one more than anything else. They announced and showed a trailer from Wicked, John Chu's Wicked, starring Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo. And my musical theater geek self lost my black mind. And then I lost my black mind even more when Rihanna walked out, pregnant and all, announcing that she was playing Smurfette in the new Smurf movie coming out on February 14th of 2025. So we got a minute before we see her in it, but I was all about that. I got to see the full version of Joyride with Miss Stephanie Chu. Baby, I can't talk about it, but y'all gonna laugh your ass off. That's all I'm gonna say about that. And then I found this out on the down low. These movie musicals are in development. They are doing a movie musical development of Guys and Dolls, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, The King and I, Spam-A-Lot, Beautiful, Once on This Island, um, uh, what's the other one? Sunset Boulevard and Fun Home. We got a plethora of movie musicals coming our way. And I also found out that these were some more. So in addition to The Little Mermaid, which is coming out next month. They did show us a trailer for Trolls. They showed a trailer for Wish. They showed a trailer for Wonka. The girls from The Color Purple came out, and baby, they came out in full force with none other than Miss Oprah Winfrey herself, honey. It was Oprah, Fantasia, and Taraji. They all came out for Warner Brothers and announced The Color Purple. I lost my black mind when that happened. Just lost it all the way. And then let me see who else. Oh, who else? Oh, did they announce Snow White? They're gonna make Joker into a musical. Can you even imagine? We've already talked about Wicked. Merrily We Roll Along. Mean Girls is filming right now. Odessa and Spellbound. All of these things are being made into motion pictures and musicals coming to the screen, and I am all about all of it. Oh, and I almost forgot. I digress. Barbie was there. Yes, Margot Robbie was there, along with my former Superstore co-star, America Ferrera, Ryan Gosling, and of course the director Greta Gerwig. So that about does it for everything. I just wanted to give y'all a quick little recap of what was going down at CinemaCon. It was a lot, and I was a little. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little overwhelmed, but it was a lot of fun. It really, really was. I know, Read Love Lift. Listen, it is massively awesome. And I know you said you love The Lion King while they're giving us everything. Not The Lion King. I got The Lion King on the brain. The King and I. I know they are giving us everything. And what did Brandon say? Brandon says, and he reiterated about his time in school. I love this so much. So yes, they gave us everything. And when I tell you the the seminars and the presentations would start at like 9 or 10 in the morning, and they would go till about 4 or 6 in the afternoon. Yes, congratulations, Brandon! Woo! They would go till 6 o'clock in the evening, and it was the 24th, 25th, 26th, and 27th in Caesar's Palace. And Caesar's Palace is huge, but your girl couldn't get through it without falling flat on my face. I fell in that. I fell in that casino flat on my face. My heel got caught in one of those little round thingies on the ground, and it took me down, and I fell flat on my face. I was so upset. I was really embarrassed, but I was super upset. But anyway, that is it for the recap of CinemaCon. So that was CinemaCon 2023. I think this is the second time they've had it in person since the pandemic. So there were, when I tell you that it was in the theater, the same theater where Adele does her show, and it was hundreds of thousands of people in this theater. So everybody is really excited about all of the stuff coming out. And as a film critic, it gave me a heads up of what to be looking out for. So I was super excited about that. So, having said that, let's talk a little bit about Ghosted, shall we? So, Ghosted, as I said in Around the Curve, is the most watched film that Apple TV Plus has had in the streamer's history, which is crazy, right? That is absolutely crazy. Now, oops, sorry. Um, you remember Anna de Armas from earlier this year. She starred in Blonde, which was a really interesting take on Marilyn Monroe. I did not love that film, but I loved her in it. Let's be clear. I loved her in it, but I did not love that movie by any stretch of the imagination and was very vocal about that. But Ghosted has been streaming on Apple TV Plus since April 21st and is directed by Dexter Fletcher. And it takes place in London. Cole, who's played by Chris Evans, is abducted by Pakistani arm dealers who believe him to be a legendary CIA agent, operative known as the Taxman. But before he can be tortured with insects to extract a passcode, he is rescued by Sadie, who actually, in fact, is revealed to be the Taxman. I know that's a lot, but it's super fun. They have great chemistry. They've been in numerous films together, Ana de Armas and Chris Evans. They've been in numerous films together, and they just have a chemistry that is just palpable. It's just great. It is one of those typical "I thought you was somebody else" films, and now I'm in trouble, and now you got to rescue me vibe. It does have all of that going on, but that didn't bother me so much. Um, and I liked the fact that in this, usually when there's a film about that revolves around a relationship, i.e., ghosted, it always deals with the woman being insecure or the woman being ghosted. In this one, Chris Evans, the dude, was being ghosted. And I kind of love the fact that he was really insecure about being ghosted. That gave me all kinds of life. I love that so much that they flipped it and it was the man instead of the woman that was being insecure. And I'm like, is there anything that Ana de Armas can't do? I'm like, dag, this girl, she's gorgeous. She's like a little action hero. She reminds me of Angelina Jolie back in the day when Jolie was doing a lot of action films. And yeah, she's got that Angelina Jolie vibe, but she's kicking butt and I kind of love her. Um and I loved watching Chris Evans, i.e. Captain America, and there's a little Captain America highlight in there for y'all. I won't tell you who it is, but it's kind of funny when you see that. You're like, oh yeah, I know that person. Watching him be kind of clumsy and insecure and all of his feelings is actually pure comedy. I love the soundtrack. They had this fight scene where it's they're playing Ma Sharona, and it was fantabulous. I laughed my booty off. It was funny. So if you have not seen Ghosted, it is streaming right now on Apple TV Plus, starring Ana de Armas and Chris Evans. Now, having said that, let's get into my next interview, which is with Jasmine Mathews. Now, I told you that she is on The Rookie on ABC's The Rookie. She's on that show. And now she's in this film about Big George Foreman, and she plays his current wife. And we talked a lot about spirituality and how that played into her tapping into that role because George Foreman's wife, current wife, is very spiritual and she helped him get on that road. He was a pastor for a while, and I talked about the film last week, but I really enjoyed the film, and the review will be up. Oops, the review will be up as most of the stuff always is on my website, thecurvyfilmcritic.com. Thecurvyfilmcritic.com is where you can find all the written versions of what I talk about here. And let me just say one more thing from Brandon before we go into the interview. He says, also great cinema coverage of animation of each studio, 14 minutes. Oh yeah, I did forget about that. The 14 minutes of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse migration footage and Paw Patrol 2, plus a fourth SpongeBob movie and Transformers. Yes, I saw the Transformers I saw the Transformers footage and I saw the Paw Patrol footage. I wasn't there for Migration and Spider-Verse because I missed the Disney presentation. But yes, you're absolutely right. And thank you for reminding me about that. All right. So having said all of that, let's get into this interview with Miss Jasmine Mathews, who plays the wife of Mr. George Foreman and Big George Foreman. Here we go. Let's talk a little bit about Big George Foreman. I'm very familiar with your work. I've seen you in The Tomorrow War. I've seen you on The Rookie, and your roles that you played before this that I've seen have been a little bit more physical, you know, as opposed to taking on a character of someone that actually exists in real life that's a little more spiritual than physical. So having said that, do you think that Mary's attraction to George was a little more spiritual than physical? Because in that first scene where y'all meet each other, she seems completely unfazed by the fact that, you know, he is who he is.
Yes, and she was. I think, yes, her attraction to him was more spiritual. I think it was also emotional. I think aside from the facade that he was trying to put on, she saw through to his heart. And that he was really trying to walk this path that he said that he was going to walk. And also, you know, he has this very childlike nature about him. And I think she really appreciated that and fell in love with that part of him before it became about the physical. I think at some point she probably always thought he was attractive, but what does that mean? You know what I mean? It has to be deeper than that. And as someone who has a very profound spiritual foundation, you definitely got to come harder than just how you look, you know? So she wasn't fazed by that. But when she saw his heart and she saw his childlike nature and she really saw that he was dedicated to God, I think that's what got her.
I agree. Because I that first scene was like, she was like, oh, she is so like, okay, whatever. Just
yeah.
That gave me life. It was so funny. And how much did you know about the world of boxing and George Foreman before taking on this role? Because unless you like hardcore, like, you know, with your dad or some male figure in your life that you were watching that type of sport with, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, I didn't know much about boxing. I come from a martial arts background. I have a black belt in karate, in Shotokan karate. So I have, you know, a bit of a fighting training and but boxing is a whole other thing. I knew very little. I knew he was a 2-time heavyweight champion. I knew about the George Foreman grills. I knew he was from Houston, and I knew all of his sons were named George. And that's about it.
How much of your spirituality did you bring into this? Because it sounds like you brought quite a bit to it to make Mary seem authentic as possible.
One of the things that she wanted the most was a family, and she had that. And it was a blessing and a dream of hers. What happens when that dream is now threatened? Him going back to boxing was a threat, and to her dream, to her family. And once God gave her that vision, she couldn't ignore it. So then the question becomes faith versus fear, faith versus doubt. I've been there. We've all been there, right? God's telling me one thing, but my external reality is showing me something different. So what do I do? And I think keeping that inner conflict alive while walking this journey as Mary Joan Foreman was something that was as much necessary to make her this complex human being as it was to the reality of what she was experiencing at that time.
I'm glad you brought up the vision, because that was something else. I was like, oh, Miss Thing is having visions.
Honey, she is gifted. She is spiritually gifted.
It's so funny. Did you get an opportunity to speak with her at all before taking on the role or after?
I did not, actually. She's a very, very private person, which I completely understand. And she was very adamant about this being Mr. Foreman's story and just, you know, sitting back. So I kind of just watched a 3-minute YouTube video clip that I found, and I must have watched that thing like 600 times. So that's what I really went off to try and capture her essence. I did get a chance to speak with Mr. Foreman, though, about his love for Mary Joan and their relationship and what she was scared of most at that time. So that was great. One thing that I really loved about Mary Joan and that I'm going to walk away with is that She was so authentically herself and was not concerned with what George had going on. As long as he was true to who he said he was and what she sees in him, she's gonna ride or die for him. But also don't get it twisted. If you acting up, she will call you out on it. And I think that's something Mr. Foreman appreciates about her, because she doesn't let him get away with anything.
I would
But
agree.
I honestly just really appreciated the fact that this Mary Joan was not written off as a supportive wife. She was a rock. She was a spiritual guide, a disciplinarian, a nurturer, and she had her own inner conflicts, and it was reflected in the script. I loved that, and that's what made me say yes.
Talk to me about your accent work that you had to do. How intensive was that?
It was pretty intense. I think I only had
I can tell by the way you said it. I was like, let me ask her about that real quick.
Ooh, it was pretty intense. I think I had maybe like 4 or 5 weeks to really pull it together. I had an accent coach, Jerome Butler, who was fantastic. We worked together about 3 times a week for an hour, and then he sent me with homework, and I worked on that accent on my own for about 3 hours a day. And then would like have phone calls with my mom in the accent, and she's a doctor, and there's another doctor in her office that is from St. Lucia. And so I would talk to her and she'd be like, yeah, you sound good. No, that don't sound right. So that was great. Yeah. And then once I got on set, I never stopped speaking in that accent. So from the moment I stepped foot to the last day of filming, it was straight St. Lucian accent. And I dropped it on the final day of filming, and people were like, wait, hold on. They thought that I was really from a Caribbean island. So that was great. But it was that intense, and I wanted it to be, because I wanted to honor Miss Mary Joan as much as I could.
That's a testament to you as an actor. You went in full throttle. Talk to me about working with Chris and how intimate that had to be, because you had to, in addition to capturing Mary Joan's essence, you had to bring out the essence of Mr. George through Chris to a certain extent, in addition to him bringing it out himself.
Yeah. Let me just say this. Chris Davis is a star. One of the scenes, the first date scene that Mr. Foreman and Mary Joan have, it's very intimate. And the way that we went about creating that scenario was, while they were setting up camera, we stayed there and we just talked. We talked about life. We talked about everything, as you would on a first date. And it created a very safe and intimate space that allowed us to bring forth whatever it is you see on the movie.
I wanted to talk to you about being on set and having the opportunity to work with Academy Award winner Forest Whitaker, because he's legendary.
Legendary. Like, he's big but not overpowering. His energy fills up that room, but it's a loving energy, and it makes you feel like you can do whatever it is that you're supposed to.
I think that is a perfect way to end. But before I end, I just need to find out when we gonna see you in the Dorothy Dandridge story. I'm just saying, they've already done it, but I'm gonna need to see it again with you.
Listen, I would love that. So we already put that in the universe. So God working on it. When God let me know, I'm gonna let you know.
All right. From your mama and her St. Lucian friends, we gonna put that into existence.
Okay, hello. Black women are powerful. We can do it.
You are hilarious. Oh, Jasmine, it was such a pleasure to talk to you today. Thank you so much for giving me a slice of your time.
Absolutely, and thank you for yours. I appreciate you so much.
Not a problem. So if you guys have not had an opportunity to see Big George Foreman, it is in theaters right now, and it stars Jasmine Mathews, Chris Davis as George Foreman, Mr. Forrest Whitaker as Doc Brodus, and Sonia Jean as his mom. We tried to get Sonia here, but scheduling did not permit that to happen, as well as scheduling with Mr. Whitaker, but that was totally on my part. But again, you guys, Big George Foreman starring those people, it's a really good film. It's a story that needed to be told, and they do an exemplary job. Now, let me talk about Miss Leila Gerstein. Leila Gerstein, as I've said numerous times, I'm an actress. And I was recurring on a show called Heart of Dixie for about 4 years. And Leila Gerstein was my showrunner. And let me just tell you this quick story about her before I played her interview. When I showed up to audition for Heart of Dixie, the casting director for that show was not a big fan of mine. She didn't care for me at all, actually. And I think she was actually rooting for someone else to get that part. At any rate, what happened was I go into audition, and the casting director had some things to say about it, and it wasn't positive. And I'm in the room, like I'm still there, and this is being said about me, and I'm kind of like, it was super uncomfortable. And Lila got up out of her chair, walked straight toward me, and told me that I was perfect. The way I was dressed was perfect. The way I read for the part was perfect. Everything about me was perfect, and thanked me for coming in. Needless to say, when I left, I thought I didn't get the job. I did get that job, and I was on Heart of Dixie for 4 years, recurring as Susie, Bluebell's resident hairdresser. Having said that, since our time, Lila has gone on to write for a plethora of different projects, including The Handmaid's Tale, for which she won an Emmy. And now she's writing and executive producing a show based on a book of the same name called Saint X, which is streaming on Hulu now alongside Mudbound's Dee Reeves. So I want you guys to look at this interview that Lila and I did. It went on for quite some time, but I edited like the best bits down for you guys to take a look and a listen to this interview with Leila Gerstein from Saint X. Here we go.
Look at your fabulous background and how beautiful you are. I've been really looking forward to this one. I'm so happy.
I had to show up and show out for you. You know I love you.
I love you. I hearted your interview.
Love that. Oh, Lila. Let me say before we get started, I'm so proud of you and so in awe and inspired by you that you started in Gossip Girl and then went to Bluebell, Alabama. And now, girl, you are just dark and I love it.
I am so proud of you. And I think you are such a superstar in every single Instagram post. I like it and bursting with pride. Like you have made yourself a celebrity and like just through your sheer brilliance and force of incredibleness. And I'm so proud that the world sees what I always do.
Thank you, Lila. I really appreciate you. I do. I want to talk to you about Saint X, though, girl. So how did you become awakened to Alexis's novel?
As you know, I hadn't created a dark show yet. And I was coming off Handmaid's Tale, and I was actually kind of avoiding dark things, particularly dark things about things that happen to women. And I was like, oh boy. And then this book came my way, and I loved it from page one. And it's such a special book, and I knew I had to do it.
The way that the Black community ostracizes us when it's found out that you are not straight. So I wanted to know because I haven't read the book. So was there a big shift between the way you attacked that for the screen as opposed to the way it was written out in the book, or is it pretty much the same?
And of course, that stigmatization, which is a hard word to say, is something that we
right?
Spoke about in the writer's room all the time. And I obviously had writers on the staff who had experienced that themselves. And it's something that I spoke about at length with Edwin and not Edwin, Jaden and Josh. With Jaden and Josh. And, it's a conversation that we're really excited when they get there for the audience to have,
Yeah, it's gonna have a lot of conversations around it, which is why I wanted to ask about it. And then I also wanted to ask about this. The piece also speaks to the difference between love and obligation with a lot of couples on vacation on this island, right? And so I'm wondering, do you see a difference between being in love with somebody
of being obligated with somebody, and how did that inform how you created this world in Saint X?
It's a really great question. I think that that's exactly true, that some of these couples are obligated to each other and some of them really love each other. And I think that love should not feel like an obligation. And the essence, although like I'm saying this as a parent, and like we have obligations to each other, and you can have obligations, but you shouldn't feel obligated to be with someone. And I think a lot of the show is dealing with what is love and what is real and what is I'm really interested in the relationship between Gogo and Sarah, because he really thinks that they are in love, and she has such a more realistic understanding of what it is. He's really like naive and childish and has had this crush on her for forever, but she understands that like he doesn't really love her because he doesn't really know her. He doesn't really understand her. And they have a child together, and what he feels for her is not, and what she feels for him for sure is not love.
There's a bit of obligation and love with him, where she's just like, I was hurt. I was feeling some kind of way. So I did what I needed to do in that moment, but that doesn't mean that I'm in love with you. I like you, but I'm not, and I love you as a friend, but I'm not in love with you. And I thought that was a really cool dynamic to explore throughout. Having a daughter yourself, what type of freedom would you let her have? When you're on vacation like that, would you let her, do her thing and go it alone? Or would you be like, I'm gonna need to have some kind of thing on your phone?
Yeah, that's her. She's gonna have an ankle bracelet, so I know where she is at all time. It's really hard, like kids are stupid and teenagers are stupid. And the idea like my daughter's 14, the idea she's going to get a driver's license. I know, can imagine she was so little when
she was teeny tiny.
The idea that she's going to get behind the wheel of like a car, 2 years is crazy. But you have to let them do this, right? I think like it's part of parent is knowing that you have to let your kid do things and make stupid mistakes, and you pray with every fiber of your being that doesn't become an Allison situation.
Did you have an opportunity? Have you read Toni Morrison books before? And if you had you really delved into Paradise? Because I see Paradise being shown and spoken about often.
Yes. Well, I read a lot of Toni Morrison. I went to Cornell, and she got her MFA, I want to say, at Cornell. So like we were signed her books in every class, and I love her. She was like one of the most formative authors that I read, in my when I was an Allison in college, which I sort of was, I want to say, and reading Toni Morrison really opened my eyes. So I really wanted to have that be part of this story as well. Like I thought it was really important, and having Paradise right on the bed was like a really good, wink, wink to where we are in time.
I thought that was brilliant. I kind of love that. I don't know if everybody will pick up on that, but I picked up on it. And and last but not least, this series speaks a lot to being responsible for your choices and the consequences that lie within them. Have you ever made a choice that you regretted what the consequence was on the other side of it? You don't have to tell me what it is, because we don't want that out in the ether, but just how you felt about that.
No, I think, right? I think that's exactly what this show is talking about. I think we've all made choices. I'm so glad you asked me that question, because like, that is really right. What's at the heart of this is that you think about the consequences of what you do. Everything that happens has consequences, and being a guest on someone else's island, I think you should be extra careful. And so yeah, it's really interesting, and I think the trauma too is like really important. The trauma that everyone experiences, not like just from this one crazy night. And that's what happens, right?
I loved being able to have 10. I don't think I've spent
Yeah.
10 minutes with you since we wrapped out of Dixie, but
You can have a follow-up if you want, because you're my favorite. So
we don't need a follow-up. But I just
No.
want to say to you that I'm really happy to see you delving into such worlds that are so unlike your own and so unlike anything that you would ever be involved in your real life, because that makes me know that you are a brilliant writer and a brilliant creator. And having said that, I appreciate that about you. I always have and I always will.
I appreciate you so much, Carla. You are the best. This is my last interview, and I'm so glad it was like the best one at the end.
Oh, thank you, Leila. I love you. I'll see you soon, I hope. Yeah? Okay. Bye.
I cannot even begin to tell you how much it meant for Leila Gerstein to grant me an interview. I know a lot of people, and not all of them grant me interviews. A good majority of them do that I know. But when someone is as special as she is, that made such a huge impact on my acting career and my life in television sitcoms as she did, says yes, it means the world to me. So thank you, Leila Gerstein. Thank you, Jasmine Mathews, for giving me your time and letting me interview you for the Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. Now, having said that, I have one more piece that Brandon is so diligently reminding me about from CinemaCon. And he says that I forgot to mention that they showed exclusive footage from DreamWorks. I actually did mention DreamWorks and Trolls 3. I actually did mention that. And Kung Fu Panda. I didn't mention Kung Fu Panda 4 because they didn't show any footage from Kung Fu Panda 4. They actually just had Jack Black out there acting a fool, which was pure comedy. And that's it. So having said that, I also want to acknowledge Raven Wisdom, who came in today. She said that was great. You can see our friendship is beautiful. I love her. I do. I love her to death. So you guys, next week, I have a really special treat for you. I have the very first big celebrity interview that I did was with this woman right here. It was with Jane Fonda. And I'm going to talk to Jane Fonda, Mary Steenburgen, and Candice Bergen next week for their new film coming out called Book Club 2. And Guardians of the Galaxy is dropping. So I'll be talking about that next week. And I also am going to have the entire cast the week after of The Little Mermaid. So I'm looking forward to all of those things when I come back next week for the next couple of weeks, May 7th and May 14th. I'll have the cast of Book Club 2, and I'll have the cast of The Little Mermaid, in addition to some more reviews and things for you. I'm going to bring the Curvy Classic back. And yeah, that's it. So I'll look at this one last comment. I know, Raven. Wow, exactly. Wow. I'm so incredibly excited about that. So having said all of that, you guys, thank you so much for hanging in there with me for this really long version of the Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. As usual, click that bell for notifications. Give me a big thumbs up to let me know if you were here, if you were on YouTube, if you were on LinkedIn, if you were on Twitter watching this. Thank you so much for taking time out of your Sunday evening to watch me. I really do appreciate it. Your girl is always trying to bring y'all, some fun and sun, and we about to hit the summertime, so I know it's gonna get harder and harder to tune in, but I promise you I will make it worth your while. So having said that, you know, I just have to say this in closing out. I just can't believe how nasty people still are on the other side of the pandemic. You would think that a pandemic didn't even happen. People sneezing in the back of your head, wiping their noses with their hands, no tissues. I'm gonna need y'all to be a little bit more cognizant of what you're doing out there. It's just nasty, nasty. So please don't forget to wash your hands, y'all, because folks are still out here being nasty and being gross. Wash your hands. And until the next time, stay safe, stay sane, keep smiling, and love, peace, and hair grease. Until the next time, deuces, baby.